Hi everyone, my name is Deanna and welcome to my channel about stories that happen in life. Sit back, pour yourself a hot drink. I think this is going to be very interesting. Well, before we start, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a lot of new and useful videos. Nadezhda was about to eat dinner and go to bed when the doorbell rang. She looked at the clock with surprise and some concern. 11:30. It was very late for guests. The insistent ringing was repeated, and the woman hurried to open the door. On the threshold stood her son Stanislav, clutching the handles of a large bag, obviously stuffed with things. A backpack was visible behind his shoulders. "Mom, can I stay with you for a couple of days?" he said, smiling guiltily. Hope stepped aside, letting him through. "Come in, I'm just about to have dinner. Are you hungry?" "Yes, I have a little," Stas sighed. He took things to the room, then went to the bathroom to wash his hands and wash up. And Nadezhda returned to the kitchen, where she began to set the table. "Well, is everything bad?" she asked when Stas appeared on the doorstep. "What, yes, Mom, Alina, and I decided to divorce." "Well, and thank God, exhausted," nodded Nadezhda. She knew from the beginning that this marriage would not turn out anything good. Stas and Aliona were too different. She had grown up in a family, if not wealthy, then quite well-to-do. Her father worked as a dentist, and her mother, the head of the maternity hospital, where Nadezhda herself had been working for many years as a simple nurse. There Stas and met Alina. She once went to her mother for some needs. Stas brought documents that Nadezhda forgot at home. They ran into each other at the door and met eyes. Alina instantly appreciated the handsome guy, who was not like the wimpy boys from her surroundings. Aliona also made an impression on Stas. The slender, long-legged, blue-eyed blonde was liked by everyone, and he was an exception. They stood very close for a few seconds, trying to pass each other. Then they laughed merrily. "Come in." Stas stepped aside, and Aliona slipped out into the street. They both separated and also turned around at the same time. Stas lingered at his mother's just for 5 minutes. He hoped that the girl had not yet managed to get far away, but she was nowhere to be found. The disappointed guy looked around, trying to figure out which way she went, and then someone honked at him. Stas turned and saw his stranger behind the wheel of a small silver foreign car. "Do you need a ride?" she asked, flashing her white teeth. "Well, if time allows you," Stas answered and smiled too. "And your time?" asked the girl. "My time belongs to you." This casual acquaintance ended in marriage, though Nadezhda did not share her son's enthusiasm. "Stas," she sighed when she heard about the upcoming wedding. "Aliona. Probably a beautiful girl. I don't know her much, and I won't say otherwise. But she's not for you. You should have thought twice about proposing to her." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Stas smiled then. "We have Selena dating for almost a year, and we have everything just fine. We love each other, and we don't want to part at all." "Stas, but it is not for me to tell you that there are different strata of the population. You and I are simple people. Alina's family is among the elite of our city. You know the character of Aliona's mother, Anna Sergeyevna, doesn't let anyone get away with anything, and will never let anyone get away with it. I don't think she'll be happy with a son-in-law, an ordinary car mechanic. You're a simple guy. Life is not spoiled, used to live, too, in a simple way. Borscht for dinner and pasta for breakfast is the norm for you. And you're telling me that Aliona will cook all that for you, and do your laundry and make your overalls work. Mom, what's borscht got to do with it? Remember, you once brought Aliona to us for my birthday dinner, and she cooked only delicious things, expensive. Baked cutlets, roasted duck in the oven baked with potatoes and apples. But Aliona didn't touch anything and only picked the cabbage salad with a fork. And then she told me for a long time that their whole family was on a healthy diet, and in general, they celebrate all the holidays in restaurants. That's when I realized she wasn't right for you. And in general, where are you going to live? I'll live in a 2-room apartment, or you'll go to their primary. Stas blushed. Mom, we'll rent an apartment for the first time, and then we'll see. Well, let's see. Nadezhda waved her hand, realizing that she could not change her son's mind. Alina's parents also took their daughter's desire to marry without much enthusiasm, but did not refuse her because they knew she still insisted on her own. However, they did not organize a grand wedding, and the groom shared all the expenses. He insisted on it himself. True, Nadezhda even had to take a loan for this. Stas himself got into debt, but everything went well, and Alyona was pleased with the organized holiday. For the first year, young people lapped each other, but instead of somehow smoothing out the corners, on the contrary, everything escalated. Alina did not imagine her family life in such a way. She thought that marriage is a lot of fun, that they will travel a lot, rest in clubs, hold parties, shots at home. And every night Stas would line the path to the bedroom with scarlet rose petals, scattering them on the bed as well. And Stas wanted family coziness, tasty lunches and dinners together. Watching movies and a baby son, who will every evening semenya to him, meeting at the doorstep with a joyful cry, "Daddy." But Alyona did not want to hear anything about children. "What child, if you cannot provide for us?" she shouted. "I have to constantly beg money from my parents. I cannot even buy normal cosmetics for myself." Stas came and silently opened the drawers of Alina's dressing table, showing her a pile of all kinds of fields, tubes of lipstick, brushes, some unpacked boxes, and similar things. "So what?" she exclaimed. "I am a woman and I have the right to be beautiful." "What do I have the right to?" asked Stas. "Alyona, we have lived with you for almost 5 years, and I do not remember a day that you met me not with claims and dinner. You only care about this, yes." This was the beginning of another scandal, which was accompanied by tears and hysterics, Alina. But Stas still stubbornly tried to save the marriage, although he did not know why he did it. But one day his world finally collapsed. It happened on the day when his mother called him. "Son, I understand everything. You are young and think that you have everything ahead of you. But why get rid of the child from what child?" Mom did not immediately understand Stas. Nadezhda stopped talking. "Wait, you what? You didn't know anything, no. And you'll tell me everything now. This morning Alyona had an abortion. I found out about it by accident and came out not on my shift." "Oh, Mom," Stas said and disconnected the call. And now he came to her with a bag in his hands and a backpack on his back. "Can I stay with you for a couple of days?" Nadezhda looked at her son. "What are you going to do tomorrow?" "I'll quit the workshop and go to the village, repair Grandpa's house, and stay there. I want to live in peace, to gather my thoughts, so to speak, my son." "But it's so far away," Nadezhda sighed. "Nothing, Mom. Everything will be fine." He smiled back at her. And 3 days later, she saw him off to the train station and looked long after the departing train. 6 months passed. One evening, Nadezhda was returning from work when she heard someone calling her, and with joyful surprise, she recognized Daria, the daughter of her late friend Lyudmila. "Dashenka, my girl, you have returned to our town when why did not come to visit Dasha, barely 16 years old, when Lyudmila, her mother, went to the hospital with pneumonia, and from there no longer came out. After the funeral, her daughter was taken to himself by Vladimir, who had already lived in a neighboring town with another family for 7 years. With Lyudmila, he was divorced, but Dasha did not refuse, and although his new wife was not delighted with the idea, took the girl to himself. And now she's back in her hometown. Dashenka, you're in the position when the term, look, it's already soon. So you got married, how long have we not seen? Oh, Aunt Nadia, so many questions," laughed the girl and waved her hand at the bench. "Let's sit down. It's hard to stand. I have a better idea. It's just a short walk to my house. You remember where I live. Let's go to my place. I'll make you dinner, and we'll sit there." Dasha agreed, and in 20 minutes they had a small feast, asking each other about everything in the world. Nadezhda told the guest about herself and her son's failed marriage, and then asked, "Well, how did you live all these years? Father did not offend." "No, he did not offend." Dasha smiled sadly. "Although there was not a day that I did not feel extra there. To be quite honest, Aunt Nadia, I couldn't wait until I turned 18 to finally become independent." "Wait, how old are you now? You'll be 23 in September." "Why didn't you come back here right away? The apartment is yours. After high school, I went to college, studied to be a nurse, and then I fell in love. And now," Dasha pointed at her belly, "so you're married, I don't know myself." Daria smiled sadly. "It's not that simple. She met Nikita when she was walking in the park with her friends, and he was relaxing on the open veranda of a cafe with his friends. The guys invited the girls to share the evening with them, and although Daria took this proposal with embarrassment, her friends willingly responded to the invitation. It so happened that Dasha's place was next to Nikita, and he did not miss the opportunity to get acquainted with a pretty brunette closer. Nikita, as it turned out, the son of the director of the Central City Market, and Dasha's friends, when they learned about it, began to envy her, guaranteeing a trouble-free life in the future. But only Dasha herself did not make such far-reaching plans, and just enjoyed the attention of his favorite, devoting him all his free time. Nick had already favorably accepted her admiration for himself and decided that Dasha, the very girl who all his life will blow dust from him. That's why one day he told his mother that he was going to marry Dasha. Oh my God. Veronica Pavlovna splashed her hands. "Nikitishka, you're crazy. What, Dasha? I told you that there are no better parties for you than Christina. Her father is preparing a good position for you in her father's company. You'll live in France, do serious business, and develop yourself." "Mom, I love Dasha," repeated stubbornly Nikita. "What do you know about love, silly?" shook her head woman. "This is your Dasha, the usual hungry and just decided to get into a warm place to solve their problems once and for all. I wouldn't be surprised if she got pregnant on purpose to tie you up hand and foot." This sudden guess stunned Veronica, and she was silent for a second, and then asked, looking straight into her eyes, "Is she pregnant?" "No, Mom. Come on. Dasha is not like that, and I'll be happy only with her." "I see." This conversation did not end in anything, and angry at the intransigence of the mother, Nikita came to Dasha in the evening to forget in her arms troubles. The happy girl rushed to his neck and tenderly kissed, and then whispered, blushing with embarrassment and joy, "Nikita, it seems to me that you and me." Here, without finishing, she handed him a test with 2 stripes. "What this?" Nikita froze, and unpleasant goosebumps ran down his back. It turns out that his mother was right. "Well, and how it happened you still ask who the father is?" Dasha flared up, not expecting such a reaction from her favorite. "Okay, I'm sorry," said Nikita, and I took off the girl. "You're not happy." Dasha's face was flushed with scarlet paint. "Very glad," grinned Nikita. "Get ready. Now we'll go to my place. We must make my mother happy now." To Nikita's surprise, Veronica Pavlovna took this news calmly. "Well, it happens. Not you first, not you last, but let's make a deal. No wedding yet. Or rather, it will be, but later when the baby is born. In the meantime, we'll get ready for the event. We need to renovate the place, set up a nursery, all that kind of stuff. By the way, Nikita, you have not forgotten that you will spend the next 3 months with your father in France. Business is such a thing. You understand, Dasha." Daria nodded. She was not going to insist on anything. "And also," Veronica continued, "of course, you can move in and live with us now, but it seems to me that it will do no good to gossip and all that. Let things stay the way they are for now. Where do you live, Dasha? With your parents?" "No, my mom died a long time ago, and my dad has a new family. I have an apartment, but it's in the region, and here I live in a hostel." "I see," Veronica sighed with feigned sympathy. "So we've decided everything." "You agree?" Dasha nodded again. and Nikita did not think to object. He was used to the fact that his mother always decides everything, and therefore willingly supported her. He was generally very pleased with the way things turned out. But for Dasha began incomprehensible days, full of uncertainty. Nikita did not refuse her, although they met now they are not very often. Veronica maintained a good relationship with Dasha and was friendly when they came to visit her. When Nikita went abroad, she even called her future daughter-in-law a couple of times, telling her news about him. They still talked about the wedding, about the birth of the baby, and Dasha believed that she was loved by this family. Dasha was 8 months pregnant when Nikita returned from his trip. They went to Veronica's house together, and she insisted that Dasha go to the hospital as early as possible. Dasha didn't understand why it was necessary, but she didn't refuse. I even packed my things, she sighed, glancing at Nadezhda, who was listening attentively. And then, something happened that turned everything upside down. Late one night, after 11 o'clock, I had a terrible craving for strawberry yogurt. Nikita hadn't shown up in 2 days, but I didn't want to bother him, especially for such a small thing. So I went to the store. I called a cab myself, because the nearest 24-hour store was in another neighborhood, and I went. Suddenly, I saw Nikita near a nightclub. He was drunk and was kissing some girl, trying to get her into the car. She was giggling and hey-and-jaying on him. Of course, I asked the cab driver to stop and wait, and I went up to Nikita. Oh, Aunt Nadia, if you knew how many insults he poured out on me when he asked me who this girl was, and how he could do that to me. And what did you do? Nadezhda asked. Nothing, I slapped him. And in the morning, I bought a ticket and left here. My due date's just around the corner. Today, I was in your maternity hospital and found out that I will be accepted without any problems. By the way, I asked about you. I remember that you work there. When you lie down, Nadezhda smiled at her. On Thursday. That's good, my girl. Don't be afraid of anything. I'll look after you. A few days passed. Dasha was already in the maternity hospital and was looking forward to the moment when she could take her son in her arms. What will you call him? Nadezhda asked her when she came to give her some goodies. Misha, Mishinka, a good name, affectionate. Nadezhda nodded in response, but suddenly frowned. Listen, today I went to Anna Sergeyevna, the head of our maternity hospital, and my son's former mother-in-law. So some woman came to her, and as far as I understood, they were talking about you, and she heard your last name. But then Anna saw me and slammed the door to her office. Are you in trouble? The doctor didn't say anything, no. Daria became alarmed. Well, don't worry, I'm going home now. I'll get some sleep after my shift, and I'll be right back. How are you feeling? I'm fine. Good, good. Okay, bye. I'll be back in a bit, and we'll find out. But as soon as Nadezhda left, Anna Sergeyevna herself came to Daria's room and said that it was decided to caesarean her today. Dasha got cold. That something happened to my baby. Listen, girl, said to her head. I hope you realize that childbirth, it is always a certain risk. And so, to minimize that risk, we sometimes make an emergency decision. Your baby's umbilical cord is severely wrapped, and the sooner we help him be born, the less chance of an unwanted outcome. You know what I'm talking about. Dasha found the strength only to nod, and before she knew it, 2 young nurses were preparing her for surgery. Dasha was having a very hard time coming out of the anesthesia and felt just awful. Several times she began to distinguish the light, then again fell into darkness, and only when very close to hear some voices, she realized that consciousness returned to her. Anya, and it's normal that she's like that. Dasha recognized the voice of the eternally tearful Veronica, Nikita's mother, and thought that it just seems not quite, answered another female voice, but it's even better, so it will be easier for her to believe that the child was born dead. Oh, Anechka, I'm so grateful to you for everything. Thank you for agreeing to help me. You having paid everyone who needs it. I'll give you as much money as you say, and I'll thank you royally. If you want, we'll send Alyanushka to France. It's lucky that this bitch came to your hospital. When she disappeared from the city, I thought I'd go crazy, but Nikita remembered she was from this town. I wanted to do everything at home, but you realize we don't need this baby. Yeah, my godson's a freak. Though my Alyanka's not far from him, she married a beggar too. Good thing she didn't have children and got divorced in time. Yes, children, you'll get off with them yourself. The voices went away, but the frightened Darius lay there for some time without opening her eyes. What to do? What to do? Her mind raced. At that time, the door to the ward opened, and Nadezhda appeared on the threshold. How are you, Dashenka? Oh, Aunt Nadia, they want to take Mishenka away from me. It's Veronica, she came here, especially for that. I heard them talking, they'll say he's dead. Nadezhda thought that Dasha was delirious, but did not have time to say anything, because Anna Sergeyevna and Veronica entered the room. Nikita's mother's eyes were crying. What have you done? Glue me, wailed Veronica. Why did you leave if you had stayed home? We would have saved the baby. It took me so long to find you. Nikita's in shock. I'm sorry, Daria. Anna Sergeyevna added. I told you that the entanglement was too strong and different. The baby suffocated. There was no chance to save him. Nadezhda's eyes widened in amazement. She didn't wait for the scene to end and slipped out of the room. Daria, to distract everyone and give Aunt Nevia a chance to save Misha, threw a real tantrum. She screamed throughout the hospital, broke out of her restraining arms, and calmed down only after she was given a strong injection. Dasha fell asleep and did not hear how furious Anna Sergeyevna demanded to find the child, who disappeared to an unknown place. Veronica was out of her mind with anger, barely waiting for Dasha to wake up, and bent over her in a fit of rage. Where's the baby? You said he was dead, Daria said quietly. And tell Nikita that I'm dead to him too. Stas was at home when a cab stopped at the gate and his mother got out. He hurried toward her and was surprised to see a baby carrier in her hands. Mom, who is this? He showed the tiny infant sleeping soundly. Here, Daddy, she handed him the baby. I didn't get grandchildren from you, so we'll raise someone else's. Do not want to tell me anything, said Stas when they entered the house. Very much I want to, nodded Nadezhda, and the story will be long. By the way, I found you not only a son, but also a wife. Get ready, in the morning you'll go to pick her up. By the way, I quit my job and now I'll live here. I have to bring up my grandson. Stas only shook his head. You're so crazy, Mom. The next day Stas left for Dasha, who he knew well since childhood, and brought her to the village. For a whole year, they lived together with their family, and Nadezhda, observing their friendly relations, decided that they would communicate with each other as brother and sister. But one day she caught them kissing. Well, thank God, the woman crossed herself. It's about time, but they keep dragging on and on. Soon Dasha became Stas's wife, gave him a daughter, Nadenka, and there was no happier family in the neighborhood than the family where two Nades lived.